At the end of the anime PopCross Community Redraw episode, where I was redrawing subscribers' anime characters, I asked people what anime or manga franchises you all wanted to see me work with most that I haven't or have barely used on the channel. I kinda thought Demon Slayer was gonna be the most suggested for some reason, but by far, the most suggested series was Naruto. So I finally started reading it. I'm 13 volumes into the manga now, and I totally get why so many people wanted me to work with it. It's so good. And obviously the anime I use most on this channel is My Hero Academia, and there's a lot of similar themes and story beat kind of things, so I get why a lot of people who like one like the other. So today is the first of possibly many Naruto episodes on this channel, and I thought I'd start with something kinda weird and kinda fun, converting it into a sci-fi series and doing Naruto in space. Might be a weird choice for my first crack at this, but let's see how it goes, shall we? Let's go. Hit like if you want, subscribe if you feel like, but either way, enjoy the show. In the Shonen Jump galaxy, peace was always in a tenuous balance. The different planets had all but flimsy truces that kept them from attacking one another to expand their empires, and at any moment, the order could be shattered. But luckily, each planet had their own protectors, heroes trained to fight on any world, in any terrain in the galaxy, in times of peace or war. These were the Shinites, each clad in their own unique Jetsuit, which granted them abilities unlike those of your average citizen of the galaxy. The only way to acquire one of these incredible armors was to be accepted into the Shinite training school on your planet. It was something young Naruto had always longed to do, having grown up in Konag Prime, the location of the Fire Planet's Shinite training school. Unfortunately, he was not exactly top of his academy performance-wise, and had many times failed to impress enough to earn his training Jetsuit. But Naruto would not be deterred. He wasn't the brightest or the most responsible, but he was, above all else, determined. He would one day become the greatest Shinite in the galaxy, and nothing was going to stand in his way. In an attempt to prove how adept he'd be once he finally had a Jetsuit, he broke into the Shinite school and stole one to train in. But once he donned the suit and began training with its inherent ability to create hard-like clones of oneself, something started to go wrong. From deep within Naruto's being, he felt an incredible force being awakened. Glowing tendrils thrashed from his back, his eyes shifted shape, his ears stretched out, and he felt totally out of control, craving to destroy everything in sight. A teacher from the Shinite school named Kakashi found the boy and was ready to battle him, knowing exactly what the suit had awakened within the boy. But shockingly, he found that Naruto controlled himself and this hidden power. It was clearly on the brink of overwhelming him, but Naruto kept himself from attacking or hurting anyone long enough for the power to be suppressed and sink back into his psyche. He passed out from the overload and awoke in a hospital. His glowing tails were gone, but his head was still in an altered form, and would be for the rest of his days, resembling an alien species he didn't recognize. There, the teacher who'd first seen him in his altered form, Kakashi, explained to Naruto something that only the older beings of the planet knew. Around the time of Naruto's birth, a celestial monstrosity called the Cosmic Kurama had attacked the Fire Planet. The only way to stop the beast was for the planet's greatest hero at the time to use his incredibly powerful Jetsuit abilities to seal the cosmic beast away inside the body of a young mortal. The mortal he chose was Naruto. It had always been feared by elders that if Naruto was ever given a Jetsuit, that the power from it would awaken and release the Cosmic Kurama, which was part of the reason he was never accepted into the Shinite school. That, and his reckless attitude and irresponsible nature. But now it seemed they had no choice but to accept him as a cadet. The celestial beast was awakened, and Naruto had to learn further how to contain it, and hopefully, with enough work, control it. He swore to do just that, and to use this powerful gift to push him further along his goal to becoming the planet's greatest hero. Being finally accepted into training at the Shinite school was a massive leap forward for Naruto, but he still had a long way to go in his journey to becoming great, which would be all the more evident when he saw the skill sets of some of his fellow students. Many of them, once attaining their initial Jetsuits, had been able to add programming to them passed down through their families. Each suit could be programmed with more and more skills, but if the user didn't train with them along the way, those abilities could overwhelm their bodies and possibly even kill them. Because of this, Naruto was not permitted to add any extra abilities to his suit initially, and was stuck with its base programming, the hard light clones. Meanwhile, a trainee he'd long envied, Konag Prime's resident eye candy and mopey pretty boy Sasuke, got his suit with a myriad of extra power, passed down by his near-eradicated bloodline. The suit gave him further enhanced speed and durability, could track opponents' movements, and most notably gave him the ability to copy the skills of any other suit within a certain range. Of course, doing so still used energy from his own body, so he'd have to train extensively to ensure he could handle the power load. Naruto hoped to stay far away from Sasuke as long as possible until he could train enough to beat him in combat, but fate had a different plan in mind. The class of new students were divided into cells of 3 cadets and given a teacher to ensure that each trainee was learning exactly how to proceed in learning the specifics of their Jetsuit. Naruto gritted his teeth at seeing he'd been grouped with Sasuke, but at least he was eager to see that the girl in town that drew his eye constantly, Sakura, was also in their trio. Of course, she, like most of the other girls in their age bracket, only had eyes for Sasuke, which once again made Naruto rue his grouping. Still, they were given the teacher that Naruto had hoped for, Kakashi. The next months were grueling. The training was long and hard, learning to be faster, stronger, and smarter both in and out of their Jetsuits. They'd even end up on a mission far above their training level, escorting a space station architect back to his home on the water planet. All the while, the man had a bounty on his head by a dangerous space pirate. The team would outshine their current station and manage to keep the architect safe, all while impressing their teacher and enhancing their skills as aspiring Shinites. Even still, over those months, Naruto would grow somewhat frustrated to see that while he gained no new abilities, Sasuke was progressing enough to implement upgrades into his suit, such as a powerful lightning blade, similar to an ability their teacher Kakashi had. And while Naruto would have outbursts and be quite disrespectful at times, he did slowly grow to work well with Sasuke and Sakura, understanding that in order to be a proper Shinite, he'd have to learn to work well with whoever else made it to those ranks, even Sasuke. Now, while Naruto was most competitive with Sasuke, that didn't mean he was the only competition for being the best in the group. Sakura didn't have the inherent abilities of either of her classmates, but she was still an incredibly determined fighter with big ambitions, who quickly gained great control over her Jetsuit. The first time she'd truly get a place to shine with her training was in the Intra-Galactic Cadet Tournament. This was an annual competition between some of the most powerful planets in the galaxy to see whose aspiring Shinite students were showing the most promise. Kakashi would enter all 3 of his cadets, who'd start the competition as a team, before eventually being divided farther into the trials. And they wouldn't be the only cadets from their planet to enter. To Sakura's dismay, an old friend turned rival of hers, Ino, would be in the competition as well. As kids, Ino had actually helped Sakura become more confident. Sakura, being a child of different alien parents, meant she was unique looking, and sometimes made fun of by her peers at school. But Ino helped her see that she was wonderful just as she was, and helped her be proud of her appearance. But the 2 girls drifted apart as they both came to realize they had the same goal, to be the first Shinite to run missions on all 5 of the galaxy's most powerful planets. It was a feat that had never been accomplished. Ino believed that it was her lifelong goal, and Sakura had just tried to claim it for herself, though Sakura said it had been her goal even longer. The qualm would push the 2 far enough apart that by the time the tournament came around, they were eager to best one another in combat. On top of hoping to beat her rival, Sakura knew what all contestants did, that the 3 highest placing cadets would immediately be jumped forward a year in their training. This could give Sakura significant headway against Ino in their mutual lifelong goal. But things would take an unexpected turn in the first trial of the competition. In an arena, before a massive crowd of onlookers, the Jetsuit-clad cadets were faced with surviving in a coliseum full of Kyotian space snakes. Nothing was off limits, meaning competitors could try and make other teams slip up, while also trying to remain alive themselves. Some tried to remain airborne, some tried to remain hidden in the little foliage and boulders of the arena, but eventually all of them would have to fight. Initially, Sakura and Ino were staying as far from each other as possible, but partway through the fight, both Naruto and Sasuke took on more than their bodies could handle, and attacked one of the snakes outright. Together, they did manage to take it down, but both of them lost consciousness in the process and power of their suits. Sakura then had to protect them both as other teams descended on her, hoping to take her out and therefore having her whole team kicked from the next round of the competition. Seeing her old friend in a terrible situation, Ino chose to help Sakura out and fight off the approaching foes, long enough for Sakura's allies to regain consciousness. This act wouldn't wholly mend their friendship, but it would start them back down the path to being allies, and would mean that both their teams would continue on to the one-on-one battles to come next in the tournament. Many cadets were beaten or even killed in the arena against the Snakes, meaning only 9 combatants remained for the finals of the tournament. One of those 9 was Gaara of the Wind Planet. He was born in the desert city of Sungok, and had proven in the last round to be a totally ruthless fighter. Unlike most cadets, he'd actually had powers since he was a baby. When he was born, his mother implanted an experimental chip in his brain to grant him the ability to magnetically manipulate and control sand and minerals. She'd been locked away for the experiment and eventually died in prison, but it had indeed worked. The result was a young boy with far more power than anyone should have at any age. It resulted in him accidentally hurting the people around him, and he was quickly shunned and made an outcast of his people. Eventually, at only 8 years old, his own father tried to have him killed, embarrassed and scared of his own kin. Gaara fled into the desert and spent 3 years fending for himself, staying alive by using his powers to kill the creatures of the planet's outland and feeding on them. All the while, he stewed in rage at everything that had happened to him in his life. This inherent training he underwent for years, while necessary for his survival, was also honing him into an incredible and dangerous warrior. Eventually, he'd be found by a teacher from the Sungok Shinite school who yearned to push the boy's training further to make him into a killing machine for his own means. He told the boy to embrace his hatred for life and everyone who lived it. He was given a Jetsuit that further enhanced his remarkable and horrifying powers, and was encouraged to become more and more hateful, being convinced this made him a better fighter, despite lessons life would later teach him. These were the kinds of foes Naruto and his team would be up against in the next phase of the tournament. The kid gloves had been well off at this point, but now they were nowhere in sight, and unbeknownst to the whole team, something even darker than Gaara's twisted mind was stirring in that arena. Tensions between planets had built to a boiling point, and the thin glass of peace between worlds, long cracked, was ready to shatter. This would present but more opportunities for Naruto and his friends to further test their might and improve as Shinites in the future adventures of Naruto in space. Alright, so I've officially done a Naruto episode, and I'm hoping to do more because, like I said, I'm really liking the series. I'm also planning to get into One Piece. I'm probably gonna watch that one instead of read it, so there will be a One Piece episode at some point, but you know, I gotta watch a decent amount of it before I actually make an episode so I know the lore well and can convert it. And of course, give me more anime and manga suggestions in the comments. I'm planning to sometime soon do another one of my anime heroes as something episodes, maybe anime heroes as sea monsters, just because I really want to do something with sea monsters. But of course, if you're new to the channel, I've got lots of anime and manga episodes on here. A lot of them are My Hero Academia related, but I've also got an episode turning anime heroes into dragons. And actually, I have Naruto in that episode. But, well, that is a good episode. He is the worst dragon I did in that episode. Maybe I should redo him at some point. I don't know, we'll see. But anyway, everybody, that's all for today. I'm Christian Pearson. This has been PopCross Studios, home of the nerdiest art videos on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next episode on Monday or Friday. I don't remember what day this is coming out. I'm all scatterbrained right now. But that's when episodes come out. So maybe I'll see you all there. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.